Welcome to Cultural Conversations with the Mississippi State University Libraries. I'm your host, Fred Smith, and my guest today is Jessica Perkins Smith. Jessica is the University Archivist. Jessica, what is the University Archivist? What job do you, tell me what you do.
Well, I collect a little bit of everything. So the job of the University Archivist is to preserve and maintain and tell the story of the history of the university. So in that respect, we have a wide variety in our collections. We collect everything from the papers of retired faculty members to we often get small donations from alumni, and that often can be photographs from their time on campus, alumni student things from their time as students, so football ticket stubs, dance cards, those kinds of things. We also collect departmental records, athletic records, so we collect across the spectrum of the university.
And all of the president's papers going back to Stephen D. Lee, I think we have.
That's right. That's right. And University Archives grows every day. We get donations every day.
Well, people walk in with little treasures frequently.
That's
so
right.
I know it's exciting. I've seen some things that have come in just in the last few weeks, and it's like, wow, this is really great stuff, because people didn't throw them away. And
That's
then
right.
the people think, well, this needs to be at archives, and so you have gotten some neat things just in the last few months. So you've brought some show and tell for us. Why don't you give us a little bit of some of the goodies that we've got hiding away for people to come look at?
I can do that. Well, this first photograph that I'm going to share is the 1941 All-Star Football Squad. So this was the All-Star football players from across the United States, and it was donated to us from an alum who was part of the team. But the reason that it's valuable and so important is because of this photo right here. And this is signed by Jack Robinson, who we know better as Jackie Robinson. So many people don't know that before Jackie Robinson became a well-known professional baseball player, he was an all-star standout college football player at UCLA. Doing a little bit of research on this photo, I actually discovered that Jackie Robinson quit the team and dropped out of college shortly before he was asked to play in this all-star game. So while this is not directly related to Mississippi State, this is something that one of our staff members just discovered a few months ago that we have in our collection.
So it had been sitting on the shelf, and all of a sudden we realized just how spectacular it was.
It had been. Going along that theme of athletics, we have sort of a wide variety of Letterman jackets and sweaters and sweatshirts and jerseys in our collection. So this is one, and this is from when Mississippi State was not the Bulldogs yet, although the Bulldog was part of our mascot, but they were known as the Maroons. So this is what the front of that jacket right there.
Any idea what year that would be from?
So this would be from the early 50s is what I think I've been able to figure out about this one. We also have a large collection of athletic material, football programs, and media guides going back to one of our older ones is this 1923 program from what's now known as the Egg Bowl, but this is when Mississippi A&M, before we were known as Mississippi State, one of the earlier games against Ole Miss. Now, that game goes back to 1900, but this is in 1923 when it was played in October rather than Thanksgiving Day in Jackson, and this one, as you can see, is in really incredible condition. We have a few more programs from that era. This is an A&M College LSU program from 1927. And this is one of my favorites just because of the art on the front. So this is Thanksgiving Day. This is another Egg Bowl program from 1927.
Is that one of those? It's a fairly new.
This one was just donated earlier this summer. The family of a former player donated this one.
It's in remarkable condition.
It's in great condition, so it's 91 years old. Then I brought this. Thought you might appreciate this one. Fred and I are both alumni of Millsaps College in Jackson, so this is back when Mississippi State actually played Millsaps in 1936.
I bet I know how that turned out.
Did not turn out well for Millsaps, that's for sure.
Those are in great shape.
And of course, we also collect up to the present day. So this is a media guide for the women's basketball team from the 2017-2018 season. And there are some other items related to the women's basketball team that are currently on display in a new exhibit that we've just put together in the Old Main Gallery called Women Through the Years at Mississippi State. And we sort of start the exhibit talking about women at the university in the 1900s. Women were allowed, women were here as students from the beginning, from the inception of the university. The first known graduate is about 1900, the first woman graduate. In 1913, there was a strike. Women and some male students and some co-ed women got upset because there was a new rule that men and women were not allowed to speak to each other on campus in public. So that led to women being banned from campus as students until the 1930s when they were allowed back on. So the exhibit in Old Main sort of tells that story and shows women in various positions as faculty, as staff, as students throughout the years, and sort of culminates in some items from the women's basketball team that made the Final Four at the past 2 years.
Now, is that on the second floor?
That is on the main floor of Old Main. So if you go in from just across the street from the Student Union, the gallery is right there.
Very good. We want y'all to all go take a look.
So a few other items related to university history. So we have a lot of these in our collection, but these are leather-bound commencement programs. So this one is 100 years old. This one is from Commencement in 1918, and this was just donated to us in the past, I think just in the past month or two. And so it's in incredible condition, and these are great little keepsakes. And as far as I can tell, they did the leather-bound commencement programs until the 40s, maybe the early 50s. And this one was brought in by two twin sisters who are now in their 80s, and their father was an alum of Mississippi State. This little piece I wanted to talk about because there's a mystery associated with it that we haven't been able to figure out yet. So this is a junior banquet program and menu from 1926. And so the class of, it was the class of 1927, this was actually their junior banquet where I'm assuming they got their class ring. So it has the menu and a program, and then it's kind of neat, there's little nicknames for many of the guys written out in pen off to the side. But at the end, there's a list of casualties, class of 1927 casualties, and there's over 100 names, and we have not been able to figure out yet what this means. So if anybody that's watching this can help us figure that out. We went kind of back and forth, and the best thing I can think of is that maybe these were students that had started at Mississippi A&M and as part of the class of 27 and weren't going to be graduating, but that still doesn't make sense because it's a really large number of young men, and some of them have nicknames off to the side as well. Yeah, this is sort of one of those little archival mysteries.
Yeah, no war going on at the time, and no reason for people to be casualties. So you know, if anybody has any clue to the history of that piece, it would certainly be welcome to find out exactly what that means.
We haven't been able to figure that one out. So this is neat. This is actually a 1913 calendar, and here's a photograph of women that were part of this class of in 1913. So this would have been the last year that women were allowed at Mississippi A&M until the 1930s. So this is a calendar that was put together that year.
That's one of my favorite things I've seen.
Here's the football team, the basketball team. So this was a little mainly looks like an athletic and student life. This is the board of the Reveille. That's another thing that we, student publications is another item that we have in our collections. We have Reveilles going back to the, when the Reveille started. I think the earliest one we have is 1898, and then we have a little gap until 1906. We also have reflectors going back to the late 19th century as well. So a whole run of student publications. Another area that we collect that researchers use pretty frequently is the extension records, Mississippi Cooperative Extension Service. And the Extension Service was, is still in every county in Mississippi. And for many, many years, there were extension agents all over the state. And there was an area of extension that pertained only to women known as home demonstration agents. And up until the 60s, just like the rest of the Extension Service and like the university itself, home demonstration was segregated. So we have white women extension agents and African American women that were extension agents. So this item that I've pulled to bring is just an example of some of the annual reports we have from different counties around the state. And this one is these annual reports contain original photographs. And so these are reports of African American women extension agents. And so these women are here working on something in the kitchen. There's images of, these are young men and women at a 4-H camp in 1953. And I like these a lot. This is the 4-H camp in 1953, and these are students, campers at a flag raising and campers swimming. So these are interesting. These reports can be used in a variety of different ways. We have researchers using them frequently, and we continue to find little gems in them as we are completing processing these reports, but they can be used in a variety of different ways in history classes and by researchers to kind of tell the story of the university, but also of what was going on in the state with agriculture, with racism at the time.
Well, thanks for being here, Jessica, the University Archivist at the library, and I want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.